They said the fortress had been dead for 10,000 years, a monument to an extinct civilization, floating in the void between stars like a tomb carved from obsidian and starlight. Every species in the galaxy had tried to crack its secrets. The Zephyrians with their quantum drills, the Mokari with their plasma cutters, the Vex with their dimensional phasing technology. All had failed, but they had never sent a human. When Captain Marcus Chen's salvage crew stumbled upon the ancient structure, they saw what others missed, not a fortress to be conquered, but a puzzle to be understood. And when Marcus pressed his hand against what everyone assumed was solid wall, something impossible happened. The fortress didn't just open, it remembered. And in that moment of contact, Marcus discovered that humanity's greatest weakness, their stubborn refusal to accept impossibility, was about to become the galaxy's last hope against a threat that had been sleeping for millennia, waiting for someone foolish enough to wake it up. Doors should never be opened, but sometimes someone has to be brave enough to walk through them anyway. Captain Marcus Chen had seen plenty of wrecks in his 15 years running salvage operations on the Rim, but nothing like this. The structure hung in the void like a dark jewel, its surface drinking in the light from the nearby red dwarf star without giving any back. His ship, the Wanderer, felt like a minnow next to a whale as it drifted closer to the massive construct. "Sensors are going crazy, Cap," said Elena Vasquez, his navigator and tech specialist. Her fingers danced across holographic displays, trying to make sense of the readings. "This thing is huge. 20 kilometers across, easy. But I'm getting weird energy signatures. Like it's powered but dormant." Marcus leaned forward in his captain's chair, studying the fortress through the view screen. The structure was clearly artificial, composed of what looked like black crystal formations that twisted and spiraled in patterns that hurt to look at directly. It reminded him of a flower, if flowers could be made of midnight and mathematics. "Any response to our hails?" he asked. "Dead as space itself," replied Dmitry Volkov, their communications officer. The big Russian's usually jovial expression was troubled. "But Marcus, my friend, I am picking up something strange. There are electromagnetic echoes bouncing around inside that thing. Like it is hollow." Marcus stood and walked to the sensor station. His crew was small but experienced. Alina with her gift for making broken technology work miracles. Dmitri, who could coax signals from cosmic background radiation, and Torres, their pilot who could thread a needle in a solar storm. They had been together for 8 years, ever since Marcus had lost his commission in the Terran Navy for refusing to abandon civilians during the Proxima raid. "Torres, take us in closer." "Nice and easy," Marcus ordered. "Elena, start recording everything. If this is what I think it is, we're looking at the discovery of a lifetime." Dr. Sarah Kim, their xenoarchaeologist, floated up from the lower deck in her mobility chair. A brilliant woman whose legs had been crushed in a mining accident. She had joined the crew when the universities refused to fund her theories about ancient alien civilizations. "The patterns match," she said excitedly, gesturing at the fortress. "The mathematical sequences I've been tracking across 17 different dead worlds. This could be a predecessor site." The predecessors were a mystery that had haunted galactic civilization for centuries. Ruins of their technology could be found on worlds throughout the galaxy, but no one had ever found an intact structure. Most xenoarchaeologists believed they had died out millions of years ago, leaving behind only fragments and puzzles. "Careful what you wish for, Doc," Marcus muttered. "Every species in the galaxy has probably taken a crack at this thing. The fact that it's still here means it didn't want to be opened." As the Wanderer drew closer, the true scale of the fortress became apparent. The black crystal formations weren't decorative, they were functional, forming complex geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow when viewed from different angles. Marcus found himself thinking of neural networks, of synapses firing in some vast alien brain. "Captain," Torres called from the pilot station, "I'm detecting artificial gravity wells around the structure. Looks like docking bays, maybe, but they're sealed tight." Marcus nodded. Standard procedure for ancient sites was to look for obvious entry points first. Elena, can you scan those bay doors? Any luck with standard opening protocols? Elena's hands moved over her controls, sending out probing signals to the fortress. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then her board lit up with activity. I don't believe it, she whispered. It's responding, but not to any galactic standard codes. It's using something else entirely. She looked up at Marcus, her eyes wide. Captain, it's probing our ship. Something in there is studying us. The lights on the bridge flickered momentarily, and Dmitri swore in Russian. It just scanned our entire computer system, downloaded our language databases, historical records, everything. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Active alien technology was incredibly dangerous. More than one exploration crew had disappeared when they encountered automated defense systems that had been waiting millennia for intruders. Should we back off? Torres asked, her hands hovering over the thruster controls. Before Marcus could answer, something extraordinary happened. One of the sealed bay doors began to open, its crystalline surface flowing apart like liquid mercury. A soft blue light emanated from within, and Marcus could see a docking chamber sized perfectly for their ship. It's inviting us in, Dr. Teddy. Kim breathed. After 10,000 years of silence, it's opening for us. Why us? Marcus wondered aloud. What makes humans different from every other species that's tried this? Only one way to find out, Elena said, though her voice carried a note of uncertainty. Marcus weighed their options. They were independent salvagers, not part of any government or corporate fleet. If they turned back now and reported the discovery, larger organizations would swoop in and claim the fortress. His crew would be lucky to get a finder's fee, but more importantly, the mystery would remain unsolved, and something told him this discovery was too important to leave to bureaucrats and politicians. Torres, take us in, he decided, but slowly. Elena, keep all sensors recording. If this goes sideways, I want a complete record for whoever finds our wreckage. The Wanderer glided into the docking bay with Torres's characteristic precision. As soon as they were inside, the bay doors began to close behind them. The crew watched nervously as their only exit sealed shut, but the expected rush of atmosphere never came. We're in a pressurized environment, Elena reported, checking her readings. Atmosphere is breathable. Nitrogen-oxygen mix, slightly higher pressure than Earth normal. Temperature is comfortable. How is that possible? The fortress is maintaining life support, Dr. Kim said in amazement. After all this time, it still has power, still has automated systems running. This is incredible. Marcus studied the docking bay through their view screen. The walls were smooth and seamless, made of the same dark crystal as the exterior. But now that they were inside, he could see patterns of light flowing through the material like frozen lightning. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Atmospheric analysis complete, Elena announced. Safe to breathe, no toxins detected. But Captain, there's something else. I'm detecting organic compounds in the air. Trace amounts, but they're there. What kind of organic compounds? Marcus asked. I'm not sure. Nothing in our databases. But they're complex, structured, almost like pheromones or chemical signals. Dr. Kim leaned forward in her chair. Communication chemicals. Some species use airborne compounds to share information. The fortress might be trying to talk to us. Marcus made his decision. All right, people. We're going aboard. Full environmental suits, portable life support. Elena and Dr. Kim, you're with me. Torres, Dmitri, you stay with the ship and monitor everything. If we're not back in 4 hours, or if anything seems wrong, you get out of here and warn the authorities. The three suited figures stood before the airlock of the Wanderer, looking out at an alien corridor that stretched into darkness. The walls pulsed gently with bioluminescent patterns, as if the fortress itself was breathing. After you, Captain, Elena said, though her voice was tight with nervousness. Marcus stepped through the airlock and onto alien ground. The moment his boots touched the crystalline floor, every light in the corridor blazed to life. The effect was so sudden and dramatic that all three humans stumbled backward. But the lights didn't stop there. They began to race along the walls, flowing like rivers of energy, deeper into the fortress. And somewhere in the distance, Marcus could swear he heard something that sounded almost like a heartbeat. "It's responding to us," Dr. Kim whispered. "The entire structure is waking up." As they moved deeper into the corridor, the patterns on the walls grew more complex. What had seemed like random geometric designs began to resolve into recognizable forms, star charts, mathematical equations, and something that looked disturbingly like DNA helixes. "Look at this," Elena called out, stopping beside a section of wall covered in intricate symbols. "These aren't random decorations. They're instructions. A manual." Dr. Kim maneuvered her mobility chair closer to examine the symbols. "You're right, but they're not in any language I recognize." "Wait." She pulled out a portable scanner and began recording the patterns. "The mathematical progressions are familiar. Binary, then decimal, then something more complex. It's a teaching sequence." Marcus felt a growing sense of unease. The fortress wasn't just responding to their presence, it was trying to educate them, as if it had been waiting for someone to arrive who could learn what it had to teach. "Captain?" Elena's voice crackled over the comm. "You need to see this." She had moved ahead to where the corridor opened into a vast chamber. Marcus and Dr. Kim joined her at the entrance and stood in stunned silence. The chamber was enormous, its ceiling lost in shadows hundreds of meters above. But what took their breath away wasn't the size. It was the contents. Floating throughout the space were thousands of crystalline pods, each one glowing with soft internal light. And inside each pod, suspended in some kind of fluid, was a humanoid figure. "Ah, are they alive?" Marcus whispered. Dr. Kim's scanner was working frantically. "I'm detecting brain activity. Minimal, but present." "They're not dead, Captain. They're in some kind of stasis." Marcus approached the nearest pod, studying the figure inside. It was definitely humanoid. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head in the right place, but the proportions were slightly off, the limbs too long, the skull too elongated, and the skin had an almost translucent quality that revealed complex patterns beneath. "The predecessors," Dr. Kim breathed. "They're not extinct. They're sleeping." Elena's scanner beeped urgently. "Captain, I'm detecting massive power fluctuations throughout the fortress. Something big is starting up." As if summoned by her words, a low harmonic tone began to resonate through the chamber. The pods began to pulse in unison, their internal light growing brighter, and deep within the fortress, Marcus could feel something vast and ancient beginning to stir. "We need to get out of here," he said. But even as the words left his mouth, he knew it was too late. The entrance to the chamber had sealed itself behind them. The symbols on the walls were changing, flowing like water, reorganizing themselves into new patterns. And from somewhere deep in the fortress came a sound like the universe, taking its first breath in 10,000 years. Marcus Chen had found what he was looking for. Now he just had to survive long enough to understand what it meant. Because something told him that their arrival hadn't just awakened an ancient technology, it had set in motion events that would change the course of galactic history. The fortress was no longer empty, and whatever had been sleeping inside was finally ready to wake up. The harmonic tone grew louder, and Marcus felt it in his bones, a deep vibration that seemed to resonate with his very DNA. Around them, the thousands of crystalline pods continued to pulse with increasing intensity, their occupants stirring in their millennia-long sleep. "The entire fortress is coming online," Elena reported, her scanner readings fluctuating wildly. "Power levels are off the charts. Whatever this place is, it was built to house something massive." Kim had maneuvered her chair closer to one of the pods, studying the symbols that were now flowing across its surface like living text. "These aren't just stasis chambers," she said excitedly. "Look at the neural interface connections. These beings aren't just sleeping. They're connected to something. A collective consciousness, maybe?" Marcus activated his comm to reach their shipmates. "Torres Dimitri, what's your status?" Static answered him for several seconds before Dimitri's voice crackled through. "Captain, you need to return to the ship immediately. The fortress is moving. We're no longer in the same position relative to the star, and there are energy signatures appearing all around us. Other structures, previously hidden." "What do you mean, other structures?" Marcus demanded. "An entire fleet, Marcus," Torres's voice joined in. "Ships the size of small moons, all dark until now. They're powering up. Whatever you've awakened in there, it's not just one fortress, it's a whole civilization." Elena grabbed Marcus's arm. "Captain, look!" The nearest pod was opening. The crystalline shell flowed apart like liquid, releasing a cascade of luminescent fluid. The figure inside, tall, elegant, with features that were almost but not quite human, drew its first breath in 10,000 years. Its eyes opened, revealing irises that swirled with the same patterns they had seen throughout the fortress. When it looked at Marcus, he felt a strange sensation, as if something was gently probing the edges of his mind. The being spoke, and somehow Marcus understood the words despite never having heard the language before. "You are the ones who walk between stars without changing," it said, its voice carrying harmonics that suggested vast intelligence. "The species that adapts the universe to itself, rather than adapting itself to the universe. We have waited so long for your kind to find us. Dr. Sotek, College Sotek." Kim's recorder was working frantically. "Incredible! It's speaking directly to our linguistic centers, some kind of telepathic translation." More pods were opening now, their occupants awakening in sequence. Marcus found himself face to face with beings that represented millions of years of evolution beyond humanity, yet they looked at him with something that might have been hope. "I am Kethvar, once speaker for the Eternal Vigil," the first being continued. "We are the keepers, the last guardians of this galaxy, and you, children of Earth, are the key we have been waiting for." "Key to what?" Marcus asked, though part of him dreaded the answer. Kethvar stepped gracefully from the pod, moving with fluid precision despite having been unconscious for millennia. "To stopping what we could not, to facing what drove us into hiding. The Devourers have returned." The words sent a chill through Marcus that had nothing to do with the fortress's temperature. "Devourers? A species from beyond this galaxy," Kethvar explained, gesturing to the walls around them. The patterns there had changed again, now showing what looked like star maps. They consume entire worlds, not for resources, but for the life energy itself. They feed on consciousness, on the spark that separates living beings from mere matter. Elena stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "How long have they been gone?" 10,000 of your years, another awakened keeper replied. This one was shorter than Kethvar, with skin that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. "We fought them across 100 star systems, but for every world we saved, they consumed 2 more. In the end, we had only one choice: to hide, to wait, and to hope that someone would come who could do what we could not." Dr. Kim's mind was racing. "You've been waiting for humans specifically." 5. "Why? What makes us different?" Kethvar moved to one of the wall displays, which responded to his presence by showing detailed biological scans. "Most species in this galaxy evolved to find their place in the cosmic order. They develop technology that works in harmony with natural law. But humans," he gestured to the scans, which clearly showed human DNA. "Humans are chaos incarnate. You take the impossible and make it routine. You refuse to accept limitations." Marcus was beginning to understand. and he didn't like where this was heading. "You want us to fight them. We want you to do what you do best," Kethvar replied. "We want you to refuse to lose." Around them, more keepers were awakening. The chamber filled with tall, graceful figures who moved with the confidence of beings who had once commanded stellar empires. But Marcus could see something in their eyes that chilled him. Fear. "How many humans know about this?" he asked. "You are the first to find us," Kethvar admitted. "But the Devourers are already returning. Our deep sensors have detected their scouts at the galaxy's edge. They will be here within your standard year." Elena's scanner beeped urgently. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the fortress. Something big is happening." As if responding to her words, the chamber began to change around them. The walls became transparent, revealing the vast internal structure of the fortress. It was like being inside a living organism, with energy flowing through crystalline conduits like blood through arteries. "The fortress is awakening fully," Kethvar explained. "For 10,000 years it has been dormant, conserving power. But now that you have arrived, it is preparing for war." Marcus felt overwhelmed. An hour ago, he had been a simple salvage captain looking for valuable scrap. Now he was apparently humanity's representative in an ancient conflict that could determine the fate of the galaxy. "Why us?" he asked again. "You're clearly more advanced than we are. Your technology is incredible." "Technology is not enough," another keeper replied sadly. "We learned that in our first war against the Devourers. They can adapt to any conventional weapon, absorb any energy attack. They grow stronger with each battle, learning from their enemies." Kethvar nodded gravely. "But humans dig. Humans are unpredictable. You find solutions where none should exist. You survive situations that should destroy you. And most importantly, you never give up." Dr. Kim was studying the Awakening Keepers with fascination. "How many of you are there?" "In this fortress, perhaps 1,000, Kethvar replied. "Across the hidden fleet, maybe 50,000. Once, we numbered in the billions." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. An entire galaxy-spanning civilization reduced to hiding in stasis, waiting for salvation from a species that had barely learned to travel between stars. "What exactly do you want from us?" he asked. Kethvar turned to face him fully, and Marcus saw the weight of eons in those swirling eyes. "We want you to do what we could not. We want you to find a way to kill something that cannot die." Elena's equipment registered massive power fluctuations throughout the fortress. "Captain, I'm detecting weapons systems coming online. This place is armed." "Show them," Kethvar said to the fortress itself. The walls around them became completely transparent, revealing space beyond. But it wasn't empty space. The darkness was filled with massive shapes, ships that dwarfed anything in human space, weapons platforms the size of asteroids, structures that bent light around them like gravitational lenses. "The Vigil Fleet," Kethvar said with quiet pride. "The last hope of our civilization, hidden here for 10,000 years, waiting for this moment." Marcus stared at the incredible sight. "How many ships?" 317 remaining from the original 1,000, another keeper replied, each one capable of destroying a planet. "But it was not enough before. The Devourers learned, adapted, overcame." Torres's voice crackled urgently through the calm. "Captain, you need to see what's happening out here. Ships are decloaking all around us. The scanner can't even count them all." Dr. Kim was reviewing her recordings, her face pale with realization. "Captain, if what they're saying is true, if these Devourers are really coming back, then Earth needs to know. The entire human race needs to prepare." "That is precisely what must happen," Kethvar agreed. "But preparation is not enough. Your species must be transformed, enhanced, made ready for a war unlike any in galactic history." Elena looked up from her readings. "Enhanced how?" Kethvar gestured to the fortress around them. This facility was designed for more than just housing our people in stasis. It is a transformation chamber built to unlock the potential that lies dormant in any sentient species. Teddy. Marcus felt a growing unease. What kind of potential? The ability to interface directly with consciousness itself, Kethvar explained. To fight the Devourers, you must be able to battle them on their own level, in the realm of pure thought and will. The first keeper to awaken moved to a control surface that materialized from the wall at his touch. We can begin the process immediately. Your species shows remarkable potential for consciousness enhancement. You already demonstrate abilities that most species cannot achieve. Creativity, adaptability, the capacity to hold multiple contradictory concepts simultaneously. Dr. Kim leaned forward intently. You're talking about psychic abilities. We are talking about survival, Kethvar replied solemnly. The Devourers feed on consciousness. To fight them effectively, you must be able to protect not just your bodies, but your minds, your souls, your very essence of being. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had learned. Around him, more keepers continued to awaken, each one adding to the growing sense of urgency in the chamber. And if we refuse? He finally asked. The chamber fell silent. When Kethvar spoke again, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. Then in 1 year's time, the first Devourer scouts will reach your outer colonies. They will consume every living mind they encounter, and within a decade, your beautiful, chaotic, impossible species will exist only in the memories of those few of us who survived to witness your extinction. Marcus felt the weight of an entire species resting on his shoulders. He thought of Elena's brilliant mind, of Dr. Kim's endless curiosity, of Torres's unshakable courage. He thought of Earth, of the billions of humans who went about their daily lives, never knowing how fragile their existence really was. If we do this, he said slowly, if we agree to this transformation, what guarantee do we have that it will work? Kethvar's expression was grave. None whatsoever. This is uncharted territory even for us. But I can promise you this. Without it, you have no chance at all. The fortress continued to awaken around them, its ancient systems coming online one by one. In the distance, Marcus could hear what sounded like massive machinery beginning to operate. How long do we have to decide? He asked. The transformation process takes time, Kethvar replied. Months to properly prepare a single individual, years to enhance an entire species. We should begin immediately. Elena stepped closer to Marcus. Captain, this is bigger than our crew, bigger than our ship. This decision affects all of humanity. Marcus nodded slowly. She was right, of course, but someone had to make the first choice. Someone had to take the first step into an uncertain future. He looked around at the awakening keepers, at their incredible technology, at the vast fleet that had remained hidden for millennia. Then he thought about what made humans special, their stubborn refusal to accept defeat, their ability to find hope in hopeless situations. Where do we start? He asked. Kethvar smiled, and for the first time, Marcus saw something other than ancient sadness in his eyes. He saw hope. We start with you, Captain Chen, and we start right now. The chamber Kethvar led them to defy description. It was simultaneously vast and intimate, its walls flowing with patterns that seemed to respond to thought itself. At the center stood what could only be called a transformation matrix, a complex arrangement of crystalline structures that hummed with barely contained energy. This is where we prepare individuals for consciousness enhancement, Kethvar explained, his long fingers dancing over controls that materialized from thin air. The process is intense. It will unlock capabilities your species possesses but has never learned to access. Marcus approached the matrix cautiously. Up close, he could see that the crystals weren't solid. They were filled with swirling energy that reminded him of the aurora he had seen above Earth's poles as a child. What exactly will happen to me? Your neural pathways will be restructured to accommodate direct consciousness manipulation. Another keeper answered. This one introduced herself as Lithara, the former chief science officer of the Vigil Fleet. Think of it as learning to use muscles you never knew you had. Dr. Kim maneuvered her chair closer to the matrix, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. Energy patterns are incredible. It's like they're mapping quantum states directly onto biological neural networks. That is precisely what we are doing, Lithara confirmed. Consciousness is not merely electrical activity in the brain. It exists at quantum levels that most species never learn to access. The devourers attack at these levels, consuming the quantum essence of their victims. Elena was recording everything, but Marcus could see the tension in her posture. Captain, maybe we should contact Earth Command first. Get authorization for something this significant. Marcus considered her words. Protocol demanded he report back to higher authority. But he had seen the fear in the Keeper's eyes, heard the urgency in their voices. If the Devourers were really coming within a year, there might not be time for bureaucratic processes. How long will the transformation take? He asked. For a complete enhancement, several days, Kethvar replied. But the initial phase can be accomplished in hours. It would give you basic abilities, the capacity to sense consciousness attacks, rudimentary mental shielding, enhanced pattern recognition. Torres's voice crackled through the comm system. Captain, you need to know long-range sensors are picking up something at the edge of the system. With their big, really big, really big. Marcus felt his blood run cold. Devourers? Unknown? Torres replied. But whatever they are, they just dropped out of hyperspace and they're headed this way. Kethvar's expression became grim. Too soon. They were not supposed to arrive for months yet. Scout ships, Lithara said with certainty. The main fleet will still be far behind, but scouts can travel faster. If they have found this location, how long before they reach us? Marcus demanded. Torres's calculations came back quickly. At current velocity, maybe 18 hours. The keepers exchanged glances filled with meaning that Marcus couldn't interpret. Finally, Kethvar spoke. We have no choice. The transformation must begin immediately, even if it means using emergency protocols. What does that mean? Elena asked. Normally, consciousness enhancement is a gradual process, Lithara explained. The mind is slowly expanded, carefully prepared for each new capability. Emergency protocols compress this into hours instead of days. Dr. Kim leaned forward. What are the risks? The keepers were quiet for a moment. Then Kethvar answered honestly. Catastrophic neural feedback. Complete personality dissolution. Or worse, the transformation could succeed too well, expanding consciousness beyond the ability to maintain individual identity. Marcus looked at his crew. Elena's face was pale but determined. Dr. Kim showed the same fascination with the unknown that had driven her to join their crew. These people had followed him to the edges of known space, trusted him with their lives countless times. There's another option, he said slowly. We could run, get back to human space, warn Earth about what's coming, and leave us to face the scouts alone? Kethvar asked quietly. Marcus thought about that. The Keepers had waited 10,000 years for humanity to find them. They had built their entire strategy around human unpredictability and refusal to accept defeat. If he ran now, he would be proving them wrong. The scouts, he said. How many? Unknown, Lithara admitted. Could be one ship, could be a dozen. But even a single devourer scout can consume the life force of millions. Elena stepped forward. Captain, if you're going to do this, I want to go through it too. Elena, no, it's too dangerous. With respect, sir, you're going to need backup. And if these things can attack consciousness itself, then having multiple enhanced humans gives us better odds. Dr. Kim nodded agreement. The more data we can gather about the process, the better we can prepare the rest of humanity. I volunteer as well. Marcus looked at the two women who had become family to him over the years. I can't ask you to take this risk. You're not asking, Elena replied firmly. We're volunteering. Before Marcus could argue further, alarms began sounding throughout the fortress. The wall displays lit up with tactical information as HFY interfaced directly with the fortress's systems. Scout ship has accelerated, he announced grimly. It will be here in 6 hours, not 18. That settles it, Marcus said. We do this now. The transformation matrix came alive as the keepers began preparations. Crystalline tendrils emerged from the structure, each one glowing with a different color of energy. Marcus could feel power building in the chamber, a pressure that seemed to push against his consciousness itself. The process requires complete trust, Lithara explained as she calibrated the matrix. You must open your mind completely, allow the quantum restructuring to take place without resistance. Any attempt to fight the process could be fatal. Elena and Dr. Kim took positions at secondary matrix points. Marcus approached the central chamber, a hollow crystal formation just large enough for a human body. Once we begin, there is no stopping until completion, HFY warned. Are you certain? Marcus thought of Earth, of the billions of humans who would face extinction if the Devourers succeeded. He thought of the impossible odds that had somehow led his small crew to this ancient fortress at exactly the right moment. Do it, he said. The matrix activated. Reality exploded. Marcus felt his consciousness expand beyond the boundaries of his skull, beyond the confines of his body. He was aware of Elena and Dr. Kim undergoing their own transformations, their minds bright sparks in a sea of quantum energy. He could sense the keepers throughout the fortress, their ancient thoughts carrying the weight of eons. And beyond that, at the very edge of his expanded awareness, he felt something else. A cold, hungry presence approaching through space. The scout ship. The transformation process flooded his mind with new sensations, new ways of perceiving reality. He could see the quantum foundations that underlay normal matter, feel the subtle energies that connected all living things. It was overwhelming and terrifying and wonderful all at once. Focus on maintaining your core identity. HFY's voice reached him through dimensions he hadn't known existed. Hold on to what makes you human. Marcus anchored himself in memories. Elena's laugh when she finally got a stubborn piece of equipment working. Dr. Kim's excitement at discovering a new piece of alien technology. Torres's steady competence in any crisis. These connections kept him grounded as his consciousness underwent radical restructuring. He could sense Elena and Dr. Kim struggling with their own transformations. Elena's brilliant analytical mind was racing through the new possibilities, cataloging and organizing the influx of information. Dr. Kim was approaching it with scientific fascination, studying her own transformation even as it happened. Then something went wrong. A spike of pain shot through the quantum matrix, and Marcus realized one of the approaching scout ships was already beginning its attack, not on the fortress directly, but on the consciousness enhancement process itself. Impossible, Lithara's voice carried shock and fear. They cannot interfere with the matrix from such a distance. But they were. Marcus could feel the hostile presence probing at the edges of the transformation, trying to disrupt the delicate quantum restructuring taking place. The Devourers had learned new capabilities in their time away from the galaxy. Hold the pattern, HFY commanded. But Marcus could hear the strain in the Keeper's voice. The attack intensified. Marcus felt his expanding consciousness begin to fragment under the assault. Around him, the transformation matrix flickered and sparked as quantum feedback cascaded through the system. That was when something remarkable happened. Instead of panicking or trying to fight the attack conventionally, Marcus did what humans did best. He improvised. Using his partially enhanced consciousness, he reached out to Elena and Dr. Kim, linking their minds together in a way the transformation matrix wasn't designed to support. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Instead of three individual consciousness being enhanced separately, they became a gestalt, three minds working in harmony while maintaining their individual identities. The hostile probe from the Devourer's scout couldn't adapt to this unexpected configuration. Extraordinary, Lithara breathed. You have created a stable, multi-consciousness matrix. We never achieved anything like this in 10,000 years of research. Marcus felt the transformation reaching completion, but it was different from what the Keepers had planned. He was still himself, but he was also connected to Elena and Dr. Kim in ways that transcended normal human experience. He could feel their thoughts, share their perceptions, coordinate their actions at the speed of thought. "How do you feel?" Kethvar asked as the matrix powered down. Marcus stood slowly, testing his enhanced senses. He could perceive the fortress around him as a living entity, feel the awakening keepers throughout its structure, but most importantly, he could sense the approaching scout ship with perfect clarity. "Different," he replied, "but still human." Elena and Dr. Kim were experiencing similar adaptations. Elena's technical intuition had been enhanced to an almost supernatural level. She could understand alien technology by simply looking at it. Dr. Kim's pattern recognition abilities had expanded to encompass quantum-level phenomena. "The scout ship," Dr. Kim said, her voice carrying new harmonics. "It's not just approaching. It's studying us, learning." Marcus could sense it too, a cold intelligence probing at the fortress's defenses, analyzing their quantum signatures, preparing for something. "It knows we're here," Elena added, "and it's calling for reinforcements." Through the fortress's sensors, they could see the scout ship itself now, a dark shape that seemed to bend space around it, absorbing light and energy like a living shadow. It was beautiful and terrifying, clearly not built by any species that valued conventional aesthetics. "How long before reinforcements arrive?" Marcus asked. Kethvar consulted the fortress's long-range sensors. "The main fleet is still months away, but there are other scout ships in neighboring systems. They could be here within days." Marcus felt a strange calm settle over him. The transformation had changed him, but it had also given him clarity. He could see patterns and possibilities that had been invisible before. "Then we don't wait for them to come to us," he said. "We go to them." The Keepers stared at him in shock. "Captain, you cannot possibly mean to attack a Devourer ship directly?" Marcus smiled, and for the first time since the transformation, felt fully like himself again. "That's exactly what I mean. You said humans were unpredictable. Let's give them something they've never seen before." Elena and Dr. Kim nodded in unison, their enhanced consciousness synchronizing with his. They could all feel it. The same stubborn refusal to accept defeat that had driven humanity to the stars. The Devourers had made one critical error. They had expected to face the same species they had defeated 10,000 years ago. Instead, they were about to encounter something new, something that had never existed before in galactic history. They were about to face enhanced humans who had absolutely no intention of lying down and dying quietly. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and for the first time in millennia, the Keepers had reason to hope. The Wanderer had been transformed as dramatically as its crew. Under Elena's enhanced technical intuition and the Keepers' ancient knowledge, the small salvage ship now bristled with technology that bent the laws of physics. Quantum consciousness projectors replaced conventional weapons. Reality anchors prevented dimensional displacement. And at the heart of it all, a consciousness amplification matrix that allowed Marcus, Elena, and Dr. Kim to project their enhanced awareness across impossible distances. "I still can't believe we're doing this," Torres muttered, as she ran final checks on the modified flight systems. The ship responded to her touch differently now, more fluid, more alive. The Keeper technology didn't just upgrade their equipment, it made it part of an integrated organism. Dimitri was equally amazed by his transformed communications array. "I can hear thoughts now, Marcus. Actual thoughts from the Keeper ships. It's like they're singing to each other. Marcus stood on the bridge, but his consciousness extended far beyond the physical space. Through the quantum link, he could perceive the Devourer scout ship in detail that no conventional sensor could provide. It was a predator, sleek and efficient, built for one purpose: to hunt and consume consciousness itself. "It's beautiful," Dr. Kim observed, her enhanced pattern recognition revealing the ship's underlying design principles. "Terrible but beautiful. Every line serves a function." Anella's analysis went deeper. "The hull isn't just armor. It's a consciousness absorption matrix. The entire ship is designed to feed on the life force of its victims. No wonder conventional weapons were ineffective against them." Through their shared awareness, Marcus felt the approach of something that defied normal description. The Devourer Scout wasn't just moving through space, it was moving through dimensions of reality that most species couldn't even perceive. "Kethvar, are you monitoring this?" Marcus asked. The Keeper's response came through the quantum link they had established. "Yes, Captain Chen. What you are witnessing is why we failed in our first war against them. They exist partially outside normal spacetime. Conventional attacks pass through them like shadows. But our enhanced consciousness can reach them," Elena stated with certainty. "In theory. But remember, they have had 10,000 years to evolve, to adapt, to grow stronger. We do not know what new capabilities they may have developed." Marcus made his decision. "Taurus, take us in, but slowly. I want to see how it reacts to our approach." The Wanderer moved away from the fortress, its new systems humming with barely contained power. The Devourer Scout detected their approach immediately, altering course to intercept them. "It's scanning us," Dimitri reported, "but not with any kind of technology I recognize. It's dasting us, sampling our consciousness from here." Marcus felt it too, a cold probing at the edges of his enhanced awareness. The sensation was deeply unpleasant, like having someone rifle through his memories without permission. But the transformation had given him tools to fight back. "Form the Gestalt," he commanded. Elena and Dr. Kim immediately synchronized their consciousness with his, creating the three-mind matrix they had discovered during their transformation. The effect was immediate. The Devourer's probing touch recoiled, as if burned. "Possible," came a voice that bypassed their ears entirely, speaking directly into their minds. It carried harmonics of ancient hunger and limitless cruelty. "No species has ever resisted consciousness sampling." "First time for everything," Marcus replied, projecting his thoughts toward the alien ship. The response was swift and violent. The Devourer Scout lashed out with weapons that operated on levels normal physics couldn't describe. Reality warped around the Wanderer as the alien ship attempted to simply delete them from existence. Elena's enhanced technical intuition saved them. "Reality anchors, now!" she shouted, and the Keeper modifications to their ship activated. The warping effect slid off their hull like water off glass. "Our turn," Marcus said grimly. Working together through their consciousness link, the three enhanced humans focused their combined will through the ship's quantum projectors. Instead of trying to destroy the Devourer ship physically, the effect was spectacular. The alien vessel shuddered as its pilot experienced something it had never felt before: uncertainty. For the first time in millennia, a Devourer faced prey that could fight back on its own level. "You taste of chaos." The alien voice carried notes of confusion now. "Your consciousness patterns make no sense. How can three minds exist as one while remaining separate?" "Human ingenuity," Dr. Kim responded, her enhanced awareness studying the Devourer's mental structure as they fought. "We specialize in contradictions." The battle that followed defied description. It was fought not with energy beams and missiles, but with pure will and consciousness itself. The Devourer tried to overwhelm them with visions of consumed worlds, the screaming death of billions. In response, the human Gestalt showed it something it had never seen: the stubborn refusal to surrender. that had driven humanity from caves to stars. Your species will make excellent feeding, the devourer declared, shifting tactics. We will savor your consciousness slowly, learning each nuance of your despair. Good luck with that, Marcus replied. We've been annoying our enemies for thousands of years. We're just getting started. Elena had been analyzing the alien ship's structure throughout the battle. Marcus, I think I understand how their consciousness absorption works. They don't just consume life force, they integrate it. Every species they've destroyed becomes part of them. Through their shared awareness, they could sense it, the absorbed remnants of countless civilizations trapped within the Devourer's consciousness. Billions of minds, consumed and enslaved, forced to serve their destroyer. That's why they keep getting stronger, Dr. Kim realized. They're not just killing their enemies, they're adding their knowledge and capabilities to their own. The implications were staggering. The Devourers weren't just predators, they were collectors, gathering the best of every species they encountered and making it their own. But that means, Marcus began. Yes, Elena finished his thought. They're vulnerable to their own nature. All that absorbed consciousness is still in there, just suppressed. Working together, the three humans reached out through the quantum link not to the Devourer's active consciousness, but to the millions of enslaved minds trapped within it. What they found there was heartbreaking. Species after species that had fought bravely and died, their memories and knowledge preserved but twisted to serve their conqueror. We hear you, Marcus projected to the imprisoned minds. You're not forgotten. The effect was immediate. The absorbed consciousnesses began to stir, remembering what they had been before consumption. The Devourer scout ship shuddered as its internal mental structure began to destabilize. What are you doing? The alien pilot's voice carried the first note of genuine fear they had heard. What humans do best, Dr. IP? Kim replied, We're refusing to accept that something is impossible. Elena had found the key, the quantum frequency that held the absorbed minds in thrall. With surgical precision, she began to unravel it, freeing consciousness after consciousness from their mental prison. The Devourer ship began to convulse as its pilot lost control of the absorbed minds. Suddenly, instead of one alien consciousness, there were thousands, the spirits of dead civilizations crying out for vengeance. You cannot do this, the Devourer screamed. They are part of me now. They serve me willingly. No, came a new voice, one that carried the accumulated wisdom of ages. We never served willingly. We waited, we hoped. And now, finally, someone has come who can set us free. The Devourer's scout ship began to tear itself apart from within, as the liberated consciousnesses turned on their captor. But instead of merely destroying it, they did something unexpected. They began to share their knowledge with the humans. Marcus felt his mind flooded with information from dozens of species, technologies beyond imagination, strategies for fighting the Devourers, knowledge of their weaknesses and limitations. It was overwhelming, but the transformation had prepared him for exactly this kind of mental expansion. The main fleet, one of the liberated minds warned, it has learned of our rebellion. It comes now, not in months, but in days. Elena integrated the new tactical information into their ship systems. Marcus, we need to get back to the fortress. The Keepers need to know what we've learned. But the Devourer pilot wasn't finished. In a final act of spite, it triggered the ship's self-destruct sequence. Not a conventional explosion, but a consciousness implosion that would drag everything nearby into mental oblivion. Torres, emergency jump, Marcus commanded. Where to? Torres asked, her hands flying over the controls. Marcus made a split-second decision that would change everything. Earth. We're going home. The Wanderer vanished into hyperspace just as the Devourer scout ship collapsed in on itself, taking with it the enslaved minds that had chosen freedom over existence. But their sacrifice had not been in vain. The knowledge they had shared would give humanity its first real hope of survival. As they raced through hyperspace toward Earth, Marcus felt the weight of what they had learned. The Devourers were more dangerous than the Keepers had known, but they also had weaknesses that had never been exploited. "How long do we have, Dr. Turks?" Kim asked. Elena consulted their new information. "The main fleet will arrive at the fortress location in 3 days, but scout ships will reach Earth in less than a week. Then we'd better make our warning count," Marcus said grimly. Through the quantum link, they could still sense Kethvar and the other Keepers preparing for the coming battle. The ancient fortress was awakening weapon systems that had slept for millennia, calling other hidden ships from their long concealment. But Marcus knew it wouldn't be enough. The Devourers had grown too strong, absorbed too many civilizations. The only hope lay in doing something that had never been tried before, uniting the scattered species of the galaxy in a way that would make them stronger together than they had ever been apart. "Dimitri," he said, "send a message to Earth Command on all frequencies. Tell them Captain Marcus Chen has returned with information that will save or damn the human race. Tell them to prepare for the impossible." "And what exactly is the impossible, Captain?" Torres asked. Marcus looked out at the stars rushing past and felt the presence of his enhanced crewmates through their quantum link. For the first time since this all began, he smiled with genuine confidence. "We're going to teach the entire galaxy how to be human." Behind them, the Devourer scout ship's death scream echoed through dimensions of consciousness that most species couldn't even perceive. But ahead lay Earth, and the beginning of humanity's greatest challenge. The war for consciousness itself was about to begin. Earth Command had seen many impossible things in humanity's expansion to the stars, but nothing had prepared them for Marcus Chen's return. The small salvage ship that had disappeared months earlier now blazed with technology that defied classification, and its crew radiated an otherworldly awareness that made hardened military officers uncomfortable. "You're asking us to believe that an extinct alien race has been hiding for 10,000 years, waiting for us to find them?" Admiral Sarah Martinez leaned back in her chair, studying the quantum-enhanced humans across from her, "and that we're about to be invaded by consciousness-eating monsters from another galaxy?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you," Marcus replied calmly. Through his enhanced awareness, he could sense the Admiral's skepticism warring with growing alarm. "And we have less than a week before the first scout ships arrive." Dr. Kim moved forward in her mobility chair, which now incorporated Keeper technology that made it respond to thought rather than physical controls. "Admiral, the evidence is undeniable. We've brought back samples of Devourer technology, consciousness recordings from their victims, and most importantly, a way to fight them." Elena activated her portable display, showing tactical information that made the assembled military officials lean forward despite themselves. "The Devourers can be defeated, but only if we're willing to do something that no species has ever attempted before." "Which is?" Admiral Martinez asked. "Quantum consciousness linking on a galactic scale," Elena explained. "Instead of fighting them as individual species, we unite every sentient mind in the galaxy into a collective defense network." The room erupted in protests. General Harrison, Earth's top military strategist, stood up angrily. "You're talking about some kind of hive mind. Humanity will never surrender its individual consciousness." "We're not talking about surrender," Marcus interjected, his voice carrying new harmonics that commanded attention. "We're talking about evolution. The same thing that allowed 3 humans to defeat a Devourer scout ship can be scaled up to include billions of minds while preserving individual identity." Through the quantum link, he showed them what he meant. For a brief moment, every person in the room experienced the Gestalt connection, the sensation of being part of something larger while remaining completely themselves. The effect was overwhelming and beautiful. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Shever, Elizabeth Turner, Earth's leading consciousness researcher. "The neural load alone should have liquefied your brains. That's what makes it human, Dr." Kim replied with a smile, "We refuse to accept the limitations other species consider absolute. Admiral Martinez was quiet for a long moment, processing what she had experienced. How do we know this isn't some kind of alien manipulation? How do we know these keepers aren't the real threat? Marcus had expected this question. Because they could have dominated us already if that was their goal. The technology they've shared with us is more advanced than anything in human space. They're not trying to control us. They're trying to save us. And themselves, Elena added honestly. They need us as much as we need them. The Devourers adapted to their methods long ago. But they've never faced human unpredictability enhanced with Keeper technology. General Harrison leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing? A phased implementation, Marcus replied, activating his own display. First, we enhance key military personnel and scientists with the consciousness upgrade. They become nodes in a communication network that spans known space. Then we contact every major species in the galaxy and offer them the same enhancement. Most species will refuse, Admiral Martinez pointed out. They'll see it as human imperialism. Then we show them what's coming. Dr. Kim said grimly, the Devourers don't negotiate, don't take prisoners, don't show mercy. When species understand the alternative is extinction, they'll listen. Through his enhanced senses, Marcus could feel the approach of the Devourer fleet. They were still days away, but their presence pressed against the edges of galactic consciousness like a gathering storm. Admiral, he said urgently, we need to begin preparations immediately. The transformation process takes time, and we need enhanced humans in key positions throughout human space. Admiral Martinez made her decision with the same quick thinking that had elevated her to command. Dr. Turner, I want you to oversee the enhancement process. General Harrison, begin evacuation of non-essential personnel from our outer colonies. And Chen, yes, ma'am, get back to that fortress. If these keepers have been preparing for this war for 10,000 years, we need every advantage they can give us. The next few days passed in a blur of frantic activity. The Wanderer, now accompanied by a small fleet of Earth's most advanced ships, raced back toward Keeper space. Behind them, the Consciousness Enhancement Network was spreading through human territory as volunteers underwent the transformation process. Not everyone survived. The human mind, for all its adaptability, sometimes couldn't handle the quantum restructuring required for consciousness enhancement. But those who did emerge, changed, came back with capabilities that amazed even the Keepers. Your species continues to surprise us, Kethvar observed as Marcus returned to the ancient fortress. We expected perhaps 1 in 1,000 humans to successfully complete the enhancement. Your success rate is nearly 50%. We're stubborn that way, Marcus replied. Around him, the fortress buzzed with activity as Keepers and enhanced humans worked together to prepare for the coming battle. What's the status of the other species? Mixed results, Lithara reported. The Zephyrians have agreed to limited cooperation. The Mokari are considering our offer. The Vex, she paused, her expression troubled. The Vex have gone silent. We fear they may have been compromised. Marcus felt a chill. If the Devourers had reached the Vex homeworld, they were moving faster than anyone had anticipated. Elena looked up from her workstation, where she was integrating human and Keeper technologies in ways that defied conventional physics. Marcus, I'm detecting massive space-time distortions at the galaxy's edge. The main fleet is coming. Through the quantum network, Marcus could sense enhanced humans throughout the galaxy. Scientists on research stations, soldiers in frontier outposts, civilians who had volunteered for the transformation. Each one was a node in a growing consciousness network that spanned light years. How many Devourer ships? He asked. Thousands, Elena replied grimly. And they're not just coming in one wave. They're coordinating their approach, moving through multiple dimensions simultaneously. Dr. Kim had been studying the tactical data from their encounter with the scout ship. They learn fast. They've already adapted their approach to account for consciousness resistance. Then we adapt faster, Marcus declared. He opened his awareness to the full extent of the quantum network, feeling the presence of enhanced minds across the galaxy. All stations, this is Marcus Chen. Operation Unity is now active. What followed defied every principle of military strategy ever developed. Instead of massing ships and weapons at strategic points, the alliance of enhanced beings began to fight on a level that transcended physical space entirely. The first Devourer scout reached human space and immediately encountered something it had never faced before: a distributed consciousness network that stretched across multiple star systems. When it attempted to consume the minds of a frontier colony, it found itself fighting not just the local defenders, but enhanced beings from dozens of other worlds. "It's working," Torres reported from the Wanderer's Bridge. "The network is amplifying our consciousness attacks across impossible distances." But the Devourers were quick to adapt. The main fleet began using new tactics, attacking multiple points simultaneously to overwhelm the network. For every mind they consumed, they grew stronger, adding their victims' knowledge to their collective intelligence. "We're losing ground," Kethvar warned. "They're learning our patterns too quickly." That was when Marcus realized something crucial. The Devourers were indeed learning, but they were learning in predictable ways. They followed patterns, optimized strategies, pursued efficient solutions. "Elena, Dr. Kim," he called out through the quantum link, "remember what makes us human." Understanding flashed through the network. Instead of fighting efficiently, the enhanced humans began to fight chaotically. They made decisions that defied logic, pursued strategies that seemed suicidal, refused to follow any predictable pattern. The effect on the Devourers was immediate and dramatic. Their adaptive algorithms couldn't compensate for opponents who acted irrationally. When faced with chaos instead of order, their consciousness absorption techniques began to fail. "Impossible," came the collective voice of the Devourer fleet. "No species behaves this way. How can you coordinate without patterns?" "We don't coordinate," Marcus replied across dimensions of consciousness. "We improvise." The enhanced humans throughout the galaxy began to fight as individuals while maintaining their quantum connections. Each one pursued their own unique approach to the battle, creating a symphony of chaos that the Devourers simply couldn't understand or counter. One enhanced pilot deliberately crashed his ship into a Devourer vessel, but at the moment of impact transferred his consciousness to other nodes in the network. The Devourers found themselves absorbing not a death, but a deliberate deception. A group of enhanced scientists on a research station began broadcasting pure mathematical paradoxes through their consciousness projectors, creating logic loops that trapped Devourer minds in recursive thinking patterns. On Earth, Dr. Turner led a group of enhanced volunteers in the most audacious plan yet. They opened their minds completely to Devourer absorption attempts, but filled their consciousness with human concepts like humor, sarcasm, and irony that proved literally indigestible to the alien predators. "What are you?" the Devourers demanded as their perfect strategies crumbled into confusion. "We're human, Dr. Phasiak," Kim replied simply, "and we don't make sense." The turning point came when Marcus realized they had been thinking about the problem wrong. The Devourers weren't just enemies to be defeated. They were a resource to be liberated. Every ship in their fleet contained thousands of absorbed consciousnesses from extinct species. "Network, new objective," he broadcast. "We're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to free everyone they've enslaved." The enhanced humans turned their attacks inward, reaching through the Devourer's consciousness absorption matrices to contact the imprisoned minds within. And they found allies, millions of them, species after species that had been waiting eons for someone to remember they still existed. The Devourer fleet began to disintegrate from within as liberated consciousnesses turned on their captors. But instead of seeking revenge, the freed minds joined the quantum network, adding their knowledge and capabilities to the growing alliance. "This is impossible," the Devourer command entity transmitted, its voice carrying harmonics of genuine bewilderment. "You are creating order from chaos, strength from weakness, unity from division. These concepts cannot coexist. Welcome to humanity. Marcus replied. "We specialize in impossible things." The battle reached its climax when the liberated consciousnesses made an unexpected proposal. Instead of destroying the Devourers, they offered them something they had never experienced: the choice to change. "You have consumed for so long you have forgotten what it means to create," spoke the collective voice of the freed minds. "Join us. Learn what you have been missing." For a moment, the outcome hung in balance. Then, incredibly, some of the Devourers began to respond. Individuals within their collective began to question their nature, to wonder what they might become if they chose cooperation over consumption. It wasn't a complete victory. Many Devourers rejected the offer, fleeing back to their own galaxy rather than face transformation. But enough chose to stay, choosing to learn new ways of existence from the species they had once hunted. As the immediate threat faded, Marcus found himself standing in the observation deck of the Keeper Fortress, looking out at a galaxy transformed. The quantum consciousness network had become permanent, connecting billions of minds across thousands of worlds. Species that had never communicated before were sharing knowledge, cultures, dreams. "It's beautiful," Elena said, her enhanced awareness taking in the full scope of what they had accomplished. "It's just the beginning, Doctor." "Teddy," Kim added, "we've shown that consciousness can be linked without losing individuality. Imagine what we can accomplish now." Kethavar approached them, his ancient features showing something that might have been wonder. "In 10,000 years of preparation, we never imagined this outcome. You have not just saved the galaxy, you have fundamentally changed what it means to be a sentient species." Marcus nodded, but his attention was focused outward toward the spaces between galaxies where other Devourer fleets waited. The immediate threat was over, but the larger war was just beginning. "The Devourers will be back," he said, "with new strategies, new adaptations. Let them come." Elena replied confidently, "We'll be ready." Through the quantum network, Marcus could feel the agreement of billions of enhanced minds across the galaxy. Humans, Keepers, Zephyrians, Mokari, and dozens of other species, all linked in a web of consciousness that preserved individual identity while sharing collective strength. The galaxy had learned to be human, and in doing so, they had become something more than the sum of their parts. They had become unbreakable. As Marcus looked out at the stars, he smiled with the knowledge that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The age of isolated species struggling alone against the darkness was over. The age of unity had begun, and it was going to be magnificent. Everyone thought the alien fortress was empty, until he awakened what lay inside and became unbreakable. HFY.